Chris Scalzi here with...
Wow.
And on this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss Shudder's The Beach House. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to the beach house. Then we'll spend a few minutes talking about Netflix's Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga, the latest film featuring Will Farrell and Rachel McAdams about the Icelandic duo that goes to Eurovision to win the big contest, which is something, Matt, I didn't even know existed because I'm a dumb American. Then we'll tell you what's coming up on your physical media featuring your straight-to-DVD and streaming picks of the week. And then finally, it's the return of Call It, where we're going to give each other some just impossible scenarios, and we're going to have to choose one or the other. And I have a special segment for Call It today just for Matt, so that'll be lots of fun. Let's start everything off, though, with a clip from The Beach House.
When you see someone change in front of you, and you know there's no going back, it scares me to death.
No one's been here in months.
It's beautiful.
I love you, you know.
I love you too.
Does anyone need a refill?
Yes, please. Have you seen this out here before? It's in the trees.
It's all over. Something in the air.
I felt a little lightheaded before.
It would feel good.
Matt, what happens if we combine the color of space with the sea? So the beach house, Matt, why don't you tell people about it and answer this question? Is it a vacation well worth taking, or is it limited by its smaller, it appears, little budget and still able to... Can you have any fun with that? What do you think?
So the beach house is about a college-age man and his girlfriend going to the particular beach house that his family owns in a small seaside resort community. Goes unannounced, off-season, so there's really nobody there, when they discover that his father is allowing some friends of his to stay there. The two couples hang out for a little while when they start to quickly notice that there's something strange coming from the sea that may be affecting them, and it may not be the only reason that it may not be so empty because it's just off season.
It's deep, man.
I know. What can I say? Every now and again.
So let me ask you, was it a vacation well worth taking, or is the limited travel budget hampering any real enjoyment of this thing?
So if we're going to use a vacation metaphor, I'm going to say that this is one of those vacations that you take with your family, where it has a few memorable spots, the parts where, everybody kind of gets together and you have like a memory that lasts. But for the most part, it's lacking. I think this film, actors for the most part that you're not particularly familiar with, the performances are not particularly strong, especially by the two young leads, in my opinion. The idea of it is pretty cool. I mean, there is some kind of, like Chris said, Lovecraftian horror kind of combined with some body horror, which at times is very, very effective. And there are some scenes in it that I think are really kind of make my skin crawl kind of stuff just by the visual. But I think overall, those kind of bright spots aren't enough to really elevate it, in my opinion.
I think I'm agreeing with you in regards to the lack of elevation. I think it does some interesting things, even though it has a limited budget, which I think you can tell. I think this setup, I think the writer-director Jeffrey Brown has a good dodge and weave with the introduction of the guests, right? We're not quite sure where this film is going and what is the nefarious nature of things that are happening. It does kind of take a bit to get going at times, I think. It doesn't exactly, shoot out of the gate. But I enjoyed the diversion with the family friends, kind of this just bit of a fake out there. It really helps, I think, establish a sense of unease for our two young leads. And I think generally there's some solid environment building here done. I think it eventually kind of does ratchet up the tension well, but it kind of sputters a bit, getting out of the gate. There's kind of these long stretches where we're just kind of just waiting for something to happen. I did enjoy some of the ideas in this thing. I like the eco-horror / I guess, possible body snatcher stuff maybe that's happening here. I think it's a relatively good mix of thrills and pointed with the occasional gross out horror thing, like maybe one or two scenes really. But I think, as you said, they're very effective. Though they're just, I think, a little limiting to me. I feel like if you enjoyed Color Out of Space, I think this has similar vibes. It's clearly not as experimental. It's kind of a stripped down alternate take of that film. I would then say, eschewed the word elevated. I would say, though, kind of a high-end elevated straight to DVD horror film. Basically what it is. It's the Netflix of, as we said, they're just basically churning out straight to DVD stuff to get people are buying it. I feel like that's this as well. We have a limited budget. I think it does relatively good work with that budget, with creating the environments and the set pieces and stuff that it has. Overall, though, it's just okay. You know, I wasn't really blown away by it. It had some tense moments, but it's just okay. Really.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think one of the things I do appreciate about the film is he doesn't try to explain things. It's just kind of left up in the air, which I think makes it much more effective. And you've kind of referenced The Color Out of Space, but I wanted to get your opinion. I've never seen this film. It's one of those films that has been in my Netflix queue or streaming queue for a really long time, but I still haven't caught up with it. The Bay was a film that came out a few years ago and had some buzz around this type of environmental horror kind of thing. Did you see it?
No.
Okay. So, okay, well, forget that then. We're not going to discuss which one is a better film there.
I did get reminded of Solaris a couple times, though, with the overlapping of the scenes of the water lapping, like on top of each other, kind of the stacking of the different types of water. I don't know if I just still have Solaris on the brain, but still, overall, it's okay, folks. As we say, it's a tight 88 minutes, unlike some other films we may discuss. In the end, Matt, I gave The Beach House a C+.
Did you? Yeah, I gave it a C. Sorry, not a C-, an actual just straight up C. It's okay. You know, if you're looking for a horror film and you've kind of gone through those like 10 or 15 really good ones on Shudder and you're kind of getting into the dregs, it's at the top of the dregs, I think.
Fair enough. Top of the, that's bold praise. Top of the dregs. Check it out. It's not horrible.
No.
That's your box cover art right there. And
that's how we're gonna get quoted by the. It's not terrible.
I think
first run
we did get popped for Wolf Cop, right? And they said what is this exactly what you think it is? I can't remember what it was, but it's
I think it's like completely ridiculous in all the right ways or something like that.
Good times. And I just want to say too, we've had I think a run too of just really jerk boyfriends. Just want to say, ladies, in your straight to DVD horror films, you can do better. All right, this guy is no prize.
But I mean, this guy is not a prize, but he's more like he's like a believable jerk. He's just kind of like, you know, he's not like abusive or anything. He's just, he's just doing his own thing. You know, leave me alone.
That's no problem. If you've had a chance to see The Beach House, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's take a couple minutes and talk about what's coming up on physical media this upcoming Tuesday, August 25th. I'm a fan of this series. I've only seen 2 of them. Now the 4th one has been released, and I think it's the final one. Though I still want to see the original expanded series that these films are cut from. So we'll see if Matt has figured out what that is.
If you think about Heracles, he was someone.
Heracles? Don't you mean Hercules?
If you're using the Roman name, then yes.
I only know him
Hercules.
from the film.
Okay, well, Heracles is the Greek name for him. He murdered his wife and children.
You know, Schwarzenegger played him in the movie.
Okay, the labours of Hercules, if you like.
Hercules in New York.
Was, if you...
One of his first movies.
Thank you. From a Christian perspective, is basically him serving his penance. Can't even imagine Christianity forgiving a man for murdering his wife and children.
Well, you're quite right, too.
Mr.
Coogan, you suggesting that the man standing before us today who murdered his wife and children should be forgiven? Hercules, Arnold played him in Hercules in New York.
Hercules in New York.
It was one of my first films.
One of my first... You sound a bit like Werner Herzog there.
That's right, that's what I was doing.
Films,
I was doing Werner.
I was one of my first films. It was very hard to do. I had to get Arnold Schwarzenegger to do it for me.
My name is Georgia. Everybody calls me George.
So that, of course, is Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan in the latest film in the series. This one time, there's the trip to Greece. They did, the trip, and then the trip to Italy, the trip to Spain, and now we have the trip to Greece. From what I understand, though, in the UK, they're actually it's like a 6-part miniseries.
Okay.
And they just condense it into the films for release here. So I'd actually like to watch the whole thing. I love the first two. I love them. So I need to really catch up with these final two as well. You can pick that up this upcoming Tuesday, August 25th. Judd Apatow keeps churning out his overly long, super serious comedies. This time we have The King of Staten Island, with basically kind of a fictionalized, roughly version of Pete Davidson's life. Includes audio commentary by Apatow and Davidson, alternate endings, deleted scenes, gag reel, and more. I can't get on the Davidson train, Matt. I don't know what my issue is. I'm just not...
Yeah, I feel you on that. I feel like it's like his... You can sense his attitude underneath his like comedy, and it's just like something I'm not on board with. Like, this is not somebody I'd want to hang out with.
I like him on SNL too. I just... Fair enough. The French thriller The Burnt Orange Heresy is being released. Hired to steal a rare painting from one of the most enigmatic painters of all time, an ambitious art dealer becomes consumed by his own greed and insecurity as the operation spins out of control. Includes audio commentary by the director and a making-of behind-the-scenes featurette. The Deep Blue Sea franchise keeps rolling along with episode 3. I didn't realize there was a 2, but I have seen the first. The first is that it's got that great scene with Sam Jackson, possibly one of my favorite scenes in a shark-related horror film of all time. Being very specific there. But it's exclusive to Walmart for now. Fulci for Fake. Severin is releasing its biopic about Lucio Fulci. It includes never-before-seen photographs, footage, and interviews. If you're a fan of Italian horror, especially the schlocky gore Italian horror, Fulci's your guy. I'm a big fan of his work. You can check out that documentary. New to Blu-ray, Criterion has given us Tony. Italian immigrant Antonio Casanova becomes entangled in relationships with his landlady and the young hot-blooded Spaniard Josefia. As Josefia's life disintegrates through a sexual assault and a necessitis... How do you say this word? Necessitis. A bad marriage to a brutish foreman. Tony is caught up in a series of marriages gone sour and the psychological fragility of those he cares for. A brand new 4K restoration of the film, audio commentary from 2006, introduction by director Jean Renoir from 61, and more. Scream Factory is giving us Tales from the Dark Side of the movie, 3 chilling tales with a connecting story. You have Lot 249, The Cat from Hell, and Lover's Vow. Brand new audio commentary by the co-producer, a new Tales Behind the Dark Side, the making of 4 ghoulish fables. It's a 6-chapter feature-length documentary on the making of the film, as long as the original audio commentary from the previous DVD release has been grandfathered in. I think I like Tales from the Dark Side of the movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it. You ever seen it?
Me too. Yeah, I did. I remember most of it being pretty underwhelming, except I think that last story about the gargoyle I thought was pretty cool when I was a kid.
Yeah. Severin is also releasing Demonia and Enigma, 2 Fulci films, though I will be honest with you, on the lesser side of the Fulci canon. Includes interviews and audio commentaries. The first one is about a bunch of, devil-worshipping nuns. And this Enigma, that's Demonia. And then Enigma is a woman kind of, it's basically his take on creepers or phenomena. The Argento film, depending on, what country you're in. It's just woman becomes comatose and she's able to do horrible things to people from her coma bed, stuff.
You're on fire today.
Severin is releasing both of those films. They also have The Beast Must Die. Tom Newcliffe is a rich businessman and an expert hunter. He summons 6 guests to his huge country estate, which he has rigged with video cameras and a high-tech security system. He tells them and his surprised wife that they are all to stay over for the weekend and that all of them will be kept on the estate during said weekend. For each guest, dead bodies have followed in their wake, and the way that the dead have been murdered means that one of the guests is a werewolf. A new audio commentary with director Paul Annette and filmmaker Jonathan Soft, and a whole bunch of new stuff, some interviews and making of featurettes. The film Hollywoodland, which is based on the death of George Reeves, played by Ben Affleck, is being released. You can check that one out. Season 6 of The Flash is getting its release. I have not watched The Flash in a year and a half. I think I didn't finish season 5. I did not watch season 6. And the good thing, though, that they're doing, which I appreciate, is they're including all of the episodes of the crossover events on each set. So if you buy Supergirl, if you buy Flash, you get all the episodes from the crossover event. What else we got? Steelbook releases of some Studio Ghibli films, Kiki's Delivery Service, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, both from Shout Factory getting Steelbook releases, and then 4K releases of some good Fulci. Well, House by the Cemetery from Blue Underground is getting its 4K release, which I like. And then the New York Ripper as well is getting a 4K release. I am not a fan of the New York Ripper. It's famous because its serial killer quacks when it kills people, or when it taunts the police. Literally, that's his thing. His thing is to quack. It's not good. But House by the Cemetery is wonderful. It has the kid Bob, who is like, I think 5 or 6, but he sounds like a 14-year-old girl or boy. It's really weird. The the voice acting for the dubbing for that. Okay. It's very jarring, but one of my favorite things about the film. Your straight to DVD pick of the week, I'm going to go with Uncle Peckerhead. I don't name him, folks. When a punk band scores their first tour, life on the road proves tough when they're joined by a man-eating demon as a roadie. Which will happen. What should we be streaming this week?
I'm going to recommend a film based off of a book from one of my favorite authors. This is a film called Stardust. It's one of Matthew Vaughn's earliest films. It's about a young man who, living in, I think, 19th century England, heads over across the wall in the field, which is a portal into the fairy realm, to retrieve a bit of fallen star. It stars Charlie Cox, Claire Danes as the star, Michelle Pfeiffer as the bad guy, Mark Strong, and just for shits and giggles, a almost unrecognizable Henry Cavill in one of his very early roles. If you can pick him out, guys, you'll be like, hey, I cannot believe that's Henry Cavill right there. Pretty good family film. Book is better, and it's a little different, but overall, I think it's still pretty enjoyable.
I have this on Blu-ray, and I've never watched it. I got it as a gift.
Did you? So okay.
I'm assuming it sounds like something I should check out. Where is it streaming again? I mean,
it's streaming on Netflix. It's a cool little modern adult fairy tale, but it's not adult. But, it's something everybody can enjoy.
Good. That's good. No penetration then in the...
No.
Good. That last thing you recommended to me, I did not expect that. All right. So let's spend a few minutes and let's go ahead and discuss Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. A title almost as long as the film itself.
Ever since we were children, we've had one dream.
Winning
the Eurovision Song Contest.
All right, everyone. I am Lars. This is Sigrid. We are Fire Saga.
Who wants to hear a Eurovision song?
All of Iceland think
we are a joke.
That's not true.
And my father is ashamed of me.
No, he's not.
He looked me into the eyes and said, I am ashamed of you.
Maybe he was drunk.
He said, and you might think that I'm drunk, but I am dead sober.
Idiot.
So, Matt, we have Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. Will Ferrell plays Lars. Rachel plays, I just call her Rachel. It's actually Rachel McAdams. I should probably clarify. We're close. She plays Sigrid. They are a duo band, and they've been struggling in Iceland for years, trying to make it and to get onto the Eurovision Song Contest. Circumstances arise that allow them to do so, which I will not spoil for you. I found to be one of the more amusing moments of the film. But this is basically the journey of them getting onto the contest and then everything that happens in between. Matt, I'm a big Will Ferrell fan. I rather enjoy most of his work, but I will admit he is a swing and a miss. And unfortunately, I feel lately we're missing, or at least getting some foul tips a lot more than we're connecting recently. And let me ask you, Eurovision, you may think going into this that this is going to be like a big parody, right, of the contest, where they're just going to go all out wacky Anchorman style, and it's not. I think there's a real respect for the competition here. Does that work to the film's detriment?
I don't think so. So I can see where you're going with this. You've made little comments about how it's long. This is a 2-hour comedy, which is not unusual, unfortunately, for Will Ferrell films.
Tighten it up!
But I have to say, of the recent Will Ferrell comedies that we've seen, which have been almost unbearable to watch, like Holmes and Watson is just absolutely terrible. The House, which we watched for the show, is just a complete slog. And I think there's just enough here that I was entertained while I was watching it. There were some funny parts, and then even if it wasn't particularly funny, at least Farrell and McAdams doing the ridiculous Nordic accents was enough to at least make it have like a good natured sensibility to it, that I honestly thought this was okay. And like I feel like this is one of those Farrell films that it's going to, maybe it'll be a small cult, but as people watch it more, they'll start to appreciate it more. I just have this feel like if there's some of those films of his that just seem to have more legs than others.
Absolutely not. Now, I'm not going to say it's not good. I enjoyed it. I had some fun with it, but it just, as I said, it needs to be tightened up a little bit. I feel like it would have been better as a straight comedy. I don't know if we need to mock all the other contestants, like you say, your earlier rounds of American Idol type of a thing, right?
Sure.
I don't think we need to go there with this. And I laughed out loud quite a few times, and I ROFL'd at least once, where, I mean, I was dying. Like, my wife thought there was something wrong with me. I was laughing so hard at one point, which involves the elves. I don't know if that gives you a tip of what happens. But it is... So it had enough to keep me interested. But I think in the end, Matt, I found it to be... all right. And I felt like it is a respectful, loving homage to this contest. This is not something that Will Ferrell... He's not mocking this at all, this contest. He really has a true appreciation for it. When I was doing some research for the show, his wife, who I think is from Iceland or something, I'm not sure, but she was familiar with it. I think she is actually, yeah. And they watched it. She introduced it to him, and he loved it. So this is clearly a loving homage for him to kind of make a fun comedy out of something that I think he actually respects and really enjoys. So I don't think it's really to the film's detriment, though I do wonder, though, if we cut this down to like 85, 90 minutes and just really focused on the gags, this thing would have ran a little smoother for me. I feel like there are long kind of stretches where I'm just not as engaged when we're trying to establish the relationship between him and Sigrid, him and his father, right? I will say that I absolutely loved, and I want to talk about the 6 feet of absolute delightness that is Dan Stevens in this film. Right, he is wonderful as the Russian contestant Alexander Lemtov. What did you think about my boy Stevens here?
I'm a fan of Dan Stevens. I mean, he is a very chameleon-like actor, and he kind of falls into this ridiculous Russian stereotype, but at least in a funny, good-natured way for the most part. I mean, him declaring that there's no gay people in Russia just doesn't happen is a pretty good little gag that he goes through. So, yeah, I enjoyed Dan Stevens. I enjoyed this film in general, and like I know you kind of are like, absolutely not. I'm not saying this is not going to have like the cult of Anchorman or something to it. It's not going to have Step Brothers kind of, devotees.
Or for me, like The Other Guys, which I love too.
Right, or The Other Guys. But I think this is like, it's not, like I said, it's not Holmes and Watson. It's not The House. No. It's probably more like Blades of Glory or Semi-Pro, where people, I think they have their fans, but it's not bottom tier, but it's not A-level Will Ferrell stuff. It's just the kind of stuff that's good that you should watch if you're a completist or if you're, want to see something, funny, but it's not an all-time comedy classic.
No, and I think my grade reflects that. I think in the end, Matt, this thing is sweet. It's fairly innocuous and totally forgettable. So I ended up giving Eurovision a C+. That's 2 C pluses on the day.
I actually was a little kinder than you. I gave it a B-. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Thought, all things considered, just the performances by everybody from McAdams and Farrell to Dan Stevens and Pierce Brosnan as the kind of gruff Nordic father is I thought it was all pretty fun. I enjoyed it. It's something at least that from what we've been forced to watch for the shows lately, I thought it was pretty good as far as straight to DVD picks go.
No, I think that's fair. And I think I would recommend watching. I think it's relatively safe family fare. I think everybody would enjoy it. It's fine. You know, that's basically all I can say. It's fine.
There are some statue dongs, so just be aware of that.
Fair. That is very true. And like I said, I did laugh out loud quite a lot. So that's good. Overall, it didn't really connect with me, unfortunately. If you've had a chance to see Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga, which is currently streaming on Netflix, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. It's call it time, man. We're burning through this episode. How do you like that?
Yeah, that's what happens, man. We're firing on all cylinders. We're completely awake. We're not falling all over ourselves. And even when Chris is falling all over himself, it's quick.
That's right. And I just edited it out anyway, so you won't even know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do Call It now, where we're going to present some options to each other. I'm doing a special just for Matt, Christopher Nolan non-Batman film edition.
Oh,
so
thank you.
It's going to be a little mini bracket contest in honor of Tenet, which is allegedly coming out in the theaters in a few weeks. We'll see what happens with that. So let's hear a clip, though, from something.
Oh, it's amazing what a little brain damage will do for your credibility. I guess it's some kind of poetic justice for not believing Sammy. You know the truth about my condition, officer? You don't know anything. You feel angry. You don't know why. You feel guilty. You have no idea why. You could do anything. Not have the faintest idea 10 minutes later. Like Sammy. What if I'd done something like Sammy? I didn't tell you? What happened to Sammy and his wife? Well, she came to see me at my office. I thought she was just trying to catch me off guard, so I didn't tell her what I really thought, but I never said that he was faking. Just that his condition was mental, not physical. I found out later that she went home and gave Sammy his final exam.
So Christopher Nolan basically explodes on the scene, Matt, with his little independent, some people say independent, film, Memento. That, of course, is Guy Pearce, who plays a gentleman who cannot retain short-term memories. And basically every day is a reset for him. So he tattoos himself with clues because he's trying to figure out and find the man who murdered his wife. And then all these people that are evolving around in his orbit for his betterment or his detriment. And it's a great little neo-noir film. If you haven't seen Memento, it is great. I missed the day. I was thinking the other day, and I think Arrow Video is doing a good job with this. And some new 4K releases are starting to do this. When you had really cool packaging, right? So I have my Memento DVD still, even though I do have the 20th anniversary version on Blu-ray, but I have a Memento DVD that looks like a doctor's file, right? You know, the folder, you open it up and it's got the papers and all that stuff. And it includes a special feature you have to access where it plays Memento in actually chronological order, and all that stuff. So I miss the days of that unique kind of packaging like that, but there's some new stuff coming up. Like I think there's a V for Vendetta set in 4K that looks pretty cool, and some other stuff. So hopefully that's coming back. So I'm going to make Matt choose between 6 different Christopher Nolan films, and then Matt, I'm going to make you in the end come down to one. So you're going to have to tell me what your favorite Christopher Nolan film is when we're done.
Got it. Okay.
But we'll start things off. Matt, call it. Who's your favorite Catwoman? Anne Hathaway or Michelle Pfeiffer?
I don't particularly love either one of them, but I would go with Anne Hathaway, I think, just because. Now, full disclosure, I saw Batman Returns when I was a kid, and I was so upset about it. I was so unhappy with it that I think that's colored my expectations going forward into adulthood, because I haven't really gone back and revisited, so I'm going to have to say Anne Hathaway based on what I know today.
Interesting. I love Batman Returns.
I know you do.
I think it's the best in the series. But I'm leaning towards Anne Hathaway as well. I just think her version I don't know, man. Pfeiffer is a blast in that film. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go Pfeiffer. I'm going to go Michelle Pfeiffer on that. So I'm going to lose Dark Knight Rises, or I'm going to lose Anne Hathaway and Dark Knight Rises for Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. I'm okay with that. I'm good. Okay. All right, what you got for me?
All right, so we've been trapped inside for a long time now. We've been forced to watch movies on streaming services. So which is the one that has come through in this time of need? Netflix or Prime?
Well, I'd have to say I think it's Netflix. The library of stuff that they have on there is fantastic. If you were to throw in HBO Max, then I may have to go HBO Max, since they have access to the Turner library. I should say Warner Brothers library, technically, I guess. But between the two of them, I think Netflix has the bigger collection of stuff. I'm on Netflix more than I'm on Prime. That's for damn sure. And I know Netflix has a bunch of Bond films right now. They have all the Raiders films, all the Indiana Jones movies, right? They have a bunch of classic stuff on there. Their classic content, I mean, I shouldn't say classic, but just their library of older films, I think, blows Prime out of the water. Where I think Prime may be better is in the horror category. I think they have a much better lineup of 70s and 80s horror films than Netflix does. But I think Netflix just has a lot more content and a lot better content. What do you think?
I would agree with that in a vacuum, but I basing my decision on the fact that I think Prime has much better original content. Like their original content as a whole, especially their movie content, is just kicks the shit out of Netflix's straight TV stuff. So if you're talking about catalog stuff, I guess for the purposes of this game, if one of them suddenly didn't exist, like Prime or Hulu or somebody's going to buy up that catalog stuff to be able to show, I think I would go with Prime just based off of their original film output is just being so much better.
Yeah, so take it away, and they're just first run studios now. You're throwing away Roma and The Irishman and Marriage Story, right? Was that Netflix?
I think Marriage Story was Netflix. I think it was.
But Amazon's got a lot. I mean, it's got my boy Refn. It's got all his work on there.
It does. Yeah, I guess as much Roma would give me pause. I could probably live without The Irishman. I mean, I don't see myself going back to check that out any time soon.
You dumb motherfuckers!
or even Marriage Story, because that wasn't particularly. That's not like something I'm like, oh, no, I want to just watch the Marriage Story, you know?
No, you're entirely right about that.
Yeah.
I would take HBO Max over all of them.
Would you? You like it that much?
I do. I'm really impressed with all the content they have, and you have HBO. I have 2 episodes left of Perry Mason, which I'm really enjoying, and I like to point out that I was absolutely right about that show, and I'm always happy when I guess something and I get it correct. You have to listen to older episodes to figure out what I was talking about. But I'm really enjoying that show, and I'm going to shift now, I believe, to Hannibal on Netflix next, though I still have to watch Barry, which is on HBO.
Yeah. But Barry's only a half-hour show, so it's a lot easier to burn through that.
And I realized, too, I never watched the last season of Preacher. So there's so much stuff I have to watch.
Yeah, I hear you. What'll be really interesting, folks, let's put it out there now. So the reason Chris has HBO Max is because it's free, right?
Yes.
And how long is it free? For life, or is it free for a year?
For life. As long as I have my phone plan, I have it free for life.
Oh, okay.
Which means I'm not changing my phone plan. I mean, I have unlimited everything right now. The way it shakes out, folks, is that I have my AT&T Unlimited plan, and I signed up for DirecTV Now, the streaming cable service, which is now known as AT&T Now. And part of the buy-in, though, for getting DirecTV Now was you got HBO free for life if you signed up.
Okay.
It's included. I have no cause. I'm perfectly happy. The only problem is with AT&T TV Now is they focus basically just on their networks. I mean, they still have all the big ones. They have CBS, NBC, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I got a lot of junk in there. They have like 2 shopping networks. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff in there I do not watch. But it's got news. It's got the major ones. I got FX. I got, AMC. I got the big ones. And I'm grandfathered in, Matt. I'm paying, I think, $30 a month for the DirecTV Now.
Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. I was grandfathered into my iPhone unlimited data for a while until they sent me a letter saying, yeah, you're grandfathered in and you're still a part of that plan, but we're raising the price. Is basically what they sent me a letter
see
for.
What that goes.
So, yeah. Okay, interesting. So we'll see. We'll see if Chris keeps it once, because he's notoriously cheap when it comes to his streaming services. So,
That's true.
We'll see if he continues to use it.
So, Matt, you've been home for a while now. Both of us have been home for, what, it's been since March?
Yeah.
Since we've been to the theater?
Yeah.
Where are you now? Movie theaters or on demand? Have you shifted at all? If you had to choose, no COVID, just life is back to normal.
Oh, no COVID?
Yeah, are
Life is
you
back
back
normal?
to have you? Because me, I've always been straight movie theaters over on demand at home. I think I
Yeah.
still am personally, but I'm curious
Yeah.
for you now that we've had this experiment and you're able
Yeah.
to watch this content at home.
So the call it choice is either like movie theaters don't exist, or do they both exist at the same time?
That's good. That's a good point because typically this segment is they go away forever.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of it that way. It was in my head. It was let's answer it both ways. In my head, it was a preference. If you could watch everything at home, you can watch Tenet at home. You could watch No Time to Die at home and not have to worry about going to the theater.
Yeah.
Would that be your preference?
So if the choice is on demand or theaters, and theaters don't exist at all, or theaters continue the way it is and you don't get stuff on demand, if it's them going away completely, I would choose the theaters because I think there's just some films that you need to see, and there's a certain thing about going to the films. There's a certain magic into that, and it's just something, it's a good social activity, even though you don't talk to each other in that social activity. But if you're talking about, especially from having done this show for so long, I would absolutely choose to have some films be on demand because honestly, some of the things we do for the show, there is no reason that I have to go all the way down to the movie theater like at 9:00 at night or whenever I can fit it in. But rather, I could just like start it, at home, which would be so much nicer. I would not go see like a Tenet like that, but if we had gone and saw Marriage Story in the theaters, hell yeah, I would have rather have stayed home and watched Marriage Story. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, if I had to choose one and the other one goes away forever, I probably would go movie theaters. I'd probably hold on to them. And my preference is still the theater. I still have, I think we've talked about it before, it happens probably once or twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, where I get filled with that feeling again of just, of the magic that I'm and I'm grateful at my advanced age that I still have that emotion. But, yeah. The convenience of being able to watch stuff from home, though, is really... it makes things a lot easier for me to be able to pop something on. Mrs. First Run goes to bed at 8:30 at night, and then like last night, it's 9:00 and I start watching The Beach House.
Yeah,
it's nice to be able to make a cup of tea, sit back, relax, not pay $10 for a popcorn that I can make at home and make a lot healthier.
Right. Put it on pause if you got to go to the bathroom.
Right.
All this stuff, not have to deal with anybody else around you. And let's be honest, Chris, since we're doing this for the show, 90% of the movies I go see are by myself anyway. So what's the difference?
That's my preference. I prefer to go by myself.
Yeah.
But the only problem then you have at home is I think you're more inclined to be distracted. I never take my phone out at the theater and putz around unless I'm watching something like The Beach Bum, right? Or something where I need an escape or something's going to go horribly wrong in there. When I'm watching stuff at home, I am more inclined to grab my laptop or my phone.
I hear you.
I have to stop myself from doing.
Yeah, no, I get the same way. I mean, in fact, when we do subtitled films, I get irritated because now I have to sit there and just really focus on what's going on. I can't divert my attention anywhere because I got to read to stay on what's going on.
Yep.
But yeah, honestly, Marvel films, superhero films, massive tentpole films, I'm gonna go see those in the theater. Things that are character studies about how horrible life is or something like that, then I can stay at home. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me.
Fair enough. All right, what do you got for me?
All right, so with theater struggling, let's go another piece. Let's just stay on this train here. If you had to choose, which would you rather pick? Higher ticket prices or higher concession prices?
Well, it's easy for me. It would be higher concession prices because I never get concessions typically.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't really be a bite to my wallet at all.
Yeah.
I guess the math would be like on the AMC A list. Do you think they would get rid of that if it's not really making them money anymore? I think it's wonderful that when and if we ever go back to the theaters, I'm assuming I would expect the price raise. I know you pay $1 or so more than I do right now. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to figure out what would I pay for my A list, because there comes a point when you just start going to matinees instead of just going at night. I think you would probably try and arrange your day around that, where I could pay $6 instead of maybe 30. But I mean, would be my max out point for my A list.
I guess it really depends on what the audience is for A list. Like for people like us, they're losing money, right?
Yes.
Because but I mean, at the same time, think of it this way. for the first 6 to 8 weeks of a film, most of that 100% of the ticket revenue goes to the studio. So really, it's the studio that's losing money, and not necessarily AMC. So I think it's a kind of there are certain people that are going to cause it to lose money, like us. But the real question is how many people get it and then barely use it? That's what I think is that would cause them to keep making money. The gym membership effect. Like, you buy a thing, you go once, and then you don't ever go again, but never bothered to cancel it either. So that's what they're counting on. I'm with you. I never get concessions at all. I mean, I'll get like something to drink, and that's it, but I never get any food there. So that's what I would go with, because I don't want to pay higher ticket prices.
Yeah, that was one of the big things helping me lose weight, was stop getting popcorn at the theater.
Oh yeah, you would get a big ass one too, man.
Oof. All right, you got one more for me before we dive into the Christopher Nolan fest here?
Yeah, sure. I actually got I got two more. I didn't even realize I did that. I just saw somebody on Film Twitter talking about Over the Top, so I just really want to throw it out there. Over the Top or No Holds Barred? Which one do you keep and which one goes?
What's No Holds Barred again? Is that
that's the Hulk Hogan wrestling movie?
Oh, Over the Top all the time. It's first off, it's got Meet Me Halfway with Kenny Loggins as its big, its sweeping theme, which I love. And you got Stallone, doing arm wrestling.
Right.
Yeah, it turns the hat back around, and no, he's a truck driver. No, Over the Top all day long. Sorry, No Holds Barred.
Yeah, I would almost go with No Holds Barred just because it's just over the top ridiculous. Like, whereas Over the Top tries to take it serious. Like, for a film called Over the Top, like, it's deadly serious about its subject matter, which is hilarious in its own way. But yeah, I think I got to go with Over the Top too.
Man, Meet Me Halfway, baby. All right, what else?
Okay, so I got a Bond thing for you here.
Ooh.
So I read that Christian Bale actually turned down the role of Bond because it embodied too many British stereotypes for his preference. So what would you have rather have had, Christian Bale or Daniel Craig?
Oh, Daniel Craig.
Yeah,
Daniel Craig. I don't have to pause for an instant with that. I think Daniel Craig brings. I know I said this 1,000 times in the show. Watching him in A Layer of Cake. I'm like, that guy needs to be the next Bond. He is fantastic. He would be perfect for the role. Because he has, no offense to Bale, I think that Craig has that smoldering kind of intensity that Connery had, where he's smooth, suave, but he'd snap your neck in a heartbeat. He brings this kind of brute force to the role that I don't think that Bale would have done. I think Bale would nail the suave Bond, right? But I just don't know, and I think he'd be fine as James Bond as an action star, but I just think Craig's intensity. I think even though the weakest of the series, I think Mark Foster in Quantum of Solace really captures, I think, the essence of Daniel Craig's Bond. I think he's referred to as Casino, as just a blunt instrument. He is just a force of nature in that film. And the fight scenes and the action scenes are actually very intense and very kind of just in your face and very, very hardcore kind of violent kind of fight scenes, especially that one like in the hotel is one of my favorite in the entire Craig run. So no, I don't have a second thought.
All right, there you go.
What about you?
I guess, I'm not a huge Bond fan like you are. I guess all I can see if Christian Bale was doing it, it would be like, smooth James Bond would be like his Bruce Wayne, or maybe like his Patrick Bateman, whereas, and then suddenly he would turn into Batman without the stupid voice. Is basically what you would get.
Yeah.
Which in its own right would be fine.
Yeah, I get it. It'd be Moore. He'd be a Roger Moore-esque Bond, I think. More than he
bite
would
your
be.
tongue. Roger Moore is such a... I'd take Timothy Dalton over any Roger Moore film ever.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've softened on Moore. I've noticed recently, and I'm wondering what's going to happen this Halloween when I try and watch a lot of horror films. Not that we don't all the time. In fact, we're watching one next week. Yeah. But the drive for me for horror has really, I think my foot has gone off the gas a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I've been more focused kind of on drama and action films recently. But I don't seem to have the same... Let me reset this. So I've softened on Moore. I used to feel like his films were basically outside of The Man with the Golden Gun, which of course is a Moore film. I think is one of the worst films in the entire series. But I was never really cared for his movies. And I've just kind of softened on him and taken those films for what they are. kind of enjoyable fantasy larks, of spy films. And I think for what they are, they're very, very good. And I don't dismiss his run out of hand now as much as I used to. I've just definitely softened in my old age, and I really appreciate them a lot more than I used to. All right, Matt. I know we could talk for hours about James Bond. You're such a huge fan. All right, here's your first 3. Here's where we're starting, all right?
Okay.
Interstellar or The Prestige?
Interstellar, because of the technical wizardry of having actual astrophysicists design a computer program to what a black hole would look like.
That's interesting. I would not have thought that. Prestige tends to be the dark horse, the big one, the film people pick, the film Twitter nerds like us. All right, Insomnia or Inception?
Inception, because of that wire fight in the hallway.
That's fair. And then Memento or Dunkirk?
I think I'm gonna have to go with Dunkirk personally. I think Memento is good, and it was really put him on the map for me. But I don't know if it aged as well. And honestly, knowing the twist, I don't know if that's something I don't know. I just haven't had as much urge or pull to watch it. Whereas Dunkirk is just a spectacle.
I feel like I need 2 more films, but we don't have them. So, because now I only have 3 films left. I'm not quite sure how you do this. I guess I can throw in. I haven't seen The Following. Have you seen The Following? It's the one thing Nolan's done I haven't seen.
No,
it's his first film.
I haven't. No, I have not.
All right, well, let's do it this way. Out of the Batman films he's done, which are the 2 best? I'm assuming Dark Knight and then what? Rises or? Well, you're going to choose Dark Knight, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to choose Dark Knight. Yes.
All right. So we'll go Interstellar or Inception.
I still think I go with Inception.
Ooh, all right. And that leaves Dunkirk or The Dark Knight?
I go with The Dark Knight.
All right, so then that's Dark Knight or Inception. Which is the best Christopher Nolan film for you?
The best Christopher Nolan film for me. It's the problem. I love The Dark Knight a lot, but I hate Christian Bale's Batman. I hate his voice so damn much. I hate how his face sticks out of the cowl. I can't stand him.
I like too in the Rises he develops a noticeable lisp.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go with Inception. I think I'm gonna go with Inception. Yeah. And even if Dark Knight was never thrown into it as we initially said, I think I still would go with Inception. I think out of those I would go Inception, then Interstellar, then I'm done.
So Interstellar or Prestige? I may lean towards Prestige over Interstellar. I would take Inception over Insomnia, and I think I would take Dunkirk over Memento. So then I think my final 2 would likely be Prestige and Inception. And I guess I would go Inception with that as well. Interesting. I really didn't think I'd go that way. Dunkirk is really good.
It is.
But, so Inception is his best film.
It's still the one that people talk about the most. I mean, when you think of a Christopher Nolan film, I mean, there's Dark Knight, obviously, but I feel like that's his quintessential film so far.
Yeah. Interesting. All right.
It makes me want to watch Interstellar again, though.
Yeah. What if I threw in the Batman films as a trilogy? So you get all 3 as one.
I think I would still go with Inception because I rewatched Batman Begins the other day, and it's not as good as you had probably remembered it. I mean, it's still good, but it's not great. And Dark Knight Rises,
I love Tom Hardy on that thing. He is so much fun on that film. But yeah, both the first and the third films have big problems, I think, with them. Dark Knight doesn't. I don't think Dark Knight really. I think it's almost a flawless film. But the bookends are not as strong.
Yeah. It's almost a flawless film as long as you don't pay attention to the titular character's ridiculous voice.
I admit I did enjoy, I think the voice modulation from Batman vs. Superman for Batman is much better than putting on the
airs.
Yeah.
I feel like you watch him try and do that, and there's literally I can see him almost drooling while he's trying to bark out these lines. It's so bad.
Yeah. Good times. All right. that's going to be it this week then, Matt, huh? Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you will find us. Head on over to Apple Podcasts. Give us a review. We'll read it on the air, and it'll help other people find the show. Next week, we are doing Sputnik, which is you can rent online or on demand right now, as well as The Assistant, which is currently streaming on Hulu. So we will see you then. Everybody take it easy. We're going to take an extended break, and we will see you soon, and enjoy My Buddy Bob.